Inflation is just like alcoholism. In both cases, when you start drinking or when you start printing too much money, the good effects come first. The bad effects only come later. That's why, in both cases, there's a strong temptation to overdo it, to drink too much and to print too much money. When it comes to the cure, it's the other way around. When you stop drinking or when you stop printing money, the bad effects come first and the good effects only come later. That's why it's so hard to persist with the cure.
Randy, don't let me start drinking again, bud.
Mr. Leahy, not the liquor.
Chill, Randy, I know what I'm doing.
The Fed has habitually and excessively increased the money supply, resulting in massive inflation and volatile price levels. This inflation has caused a devaluation of the dollar, an unseen tax on individuals, a disruption of price signals, and an increase in economic inequality. The dollar has lost over 96% of its value since the creation of the Fed in 1913. There have also been extreme short-term periods of inflation at various points in history since the creation of the Fed. Inflation destroys the ability for money to store value in a stable way. It makes it costly for the risk-averse to save their money. If keeping money in a low or non-interest-bearing savings account will result in decreased purchasing power over time, then people instead must invest in other assets that grow to keep pace with inflation. People don't even have the option of putting their money in a savings account that gives them significant interest accumulation due to the Fed making interest rates low. This forces people to take on investment risk that they otherwise would not in the absence of inflation. Inflation is also an unseen tax. Inflation takes money from people just like a direct tax. The difference is that inflation is not as visible and happens over time. This prevents people from realizing that they are losing money. A direct tax increase may create public dissatisfaction and calls to lobby one's congressperson. The same does not occur with inflation because it goes unnoticed as the cause of diminished buying power. But that does not change the reality that inflation steals monetary value from people and harms their financial well-being. People only seem to notice what's really going on during short-term abrupt increases in price levels like we have seen recently in the United States. During more normal periods, inflation is still occurring, but people don't notice, so they don't care. Furthermore, inflation seriously disrupts the ability for prices to act as market signals. Prices signal information to people and influence behavior. For example, if the demand for a commodity increases, then the price of that commodity will increase as a result. This will incentivize companies to start producing more of it. Companies will allocate their efforts towards that commodity's production, which is now a more productive use of their time as it yields higher monetary returns. This results in a well-organized use of resources. Inflation distorts this analysis. When inflation occurs, investors and companies cannot accurately assess how much of a price increase in a commodity is due to changing market conditions, such as increases in consumer demand, or how much is due to inflation. This results in the disorganized use of resources. Economic inequality is also exacerbated by inflation. When price levels increase due to inflation, the wealthy are better equipped to deal with these changes than the poor. The wealthy not only have more money in general, but have enough money to invest in a way that outpaces inflation. The indigent and middle class do not have a great deal of disposable income to invest. As a result, they are hit hardest by inflation. When the Fed increases the money supply, it does so by engaging in open market operations with financial institutions. These financial institutions and their wealthy owners get to spend newly created money as soon as it is introduced into the economy and before price levels start to increase. Furthermore, the federal government borrows large sums of money from the Fed. By the time all this money diffuses into the rest of the economy, inflation's effects start to occur and the lower economic classes are left holding the bag. This furthers income and wealth inequality. One of Congress's mandates for the Fed is to have stable prices. The Fed has failed miserably at this objective. Unprecedented, rampant inflation has occurred because the Fed's increase of the money supply has drastically outpaced GDP growth. The effects of this are both non-trivial and detrimental to the economy. The masses keep voting for the same banality every election, the oligopoly that is the two-party system. Until this ends, inflation will continue. The Democrats and Republicans are just two sides of the same inflated and devalued coin.